going to have to put this here. Does that work? Hello? Yes. Thank you to UN Women, the Permanent Mission of Norway, and to The Guardian for inviting me to this event. I am very, very honored to be here at my first UN event and to be speaking to so many activists and gender experts today. This is such an exciting and pivotal time to be a woman, and I am filled with admiration for those who have had the courage to come forward with their stories, which have brought this wave of change. And even though I'm pleased to be here today, I, like so many women, had to get past the voice inside my head that questions our qualifications to stand up in front of a room of people and share my truth. So bear with me. I think what helped me with all of this is just getting to the point where I really feel like I had just had enough. Enough of being undervalued, enough of being undermined, enough of being disrespected because of my gender. A few years ago, I was offered a gutsy and powerful role in a play that was very close to my heart. It was a two-hander on Broadway, but I was offered less than half what my male co-star was being paid. The decision to object to this and turn down this particular role was really difficult and lonely. I was forced to choose between making a concession on my self-worth and dignity and a role that I had fallen in love with. I was being pressured to accept a value of myself which I knew was wrong. And albeit with real difficulty, self-judgment, and even shame, I walked away from that part. And that changed something in me. It turned out to be a pivotal moment in my life, not because I took the part, but because I didn't. It was the first time in my professional life that I had said no on principle. And today, in the midst of this movement, I question what led me to feel ashamed when it was the industry that was acting wrongly. Does that sound familiar? This movement, where together we take a stand on justice, challenges the loneliness and isolation we have all felt, whatever our situations. I just really feel like, as a result of this, we are not alone any longer. So, driven by outrage and a resolve to end discrimination amongst women in the media and in all industry, women have united to claim that time is up. Earlier this year, I joined a powerful group of women in the entertainment industry and activists opening up against sexual harassment, discrimination, and abuse. One of the initiatives under the Time's Up movement was the creation of a legal defense fund spearheaded by fellow actor and activist Reese Witherspoon. And in less than 3 months of existence, the fund has raised more than $20 million to help women fight systemic inequality and injustice in the workplace, so that these women, farm workers, domestic workers, janitors, factory workers, no longer feel marginalized and forgotten, so that they have the resources, the support, and critically, the money to fight and protect themselves. This fund has already helped 1,500 of these courageous women to call men to account, and this is huge. But for me, the strongest significance of the Time's Up movement is that by bringing to light some of the darkest moments of some of the most powerful women in Hollywood, it sends a message to those who admire and listen to them. This message is that sexual harassment can happen to anyone, even those who we think are untouchable because of their fame or celebrity status. Being treated unfairly cannot be an intrinsic part of being a woman. Women are not expected to supposed to endure injustices in silence because they have children to feed, mortgages to pay, or ambitions to fulfill. Women have the power to speak up. Yes, harassment and discrimination is systemic. In all paths of life, there are men who make calculated, unwanted sexual advances, HR departments that are unresponsive or untrusting, managers who look the other way, lawyers who trivialize these incidents, and who try to keep women silent. For too long, the cruel privilege of harassing a woman with impunity has been allowed to flourish. But by challenging a power imbalance that seemed intractable some months ago, the Time's Up movement has taught a lesson to our rampant patriarchal societies that the future, will be equal. This is about women speaking their truth, about speaking truth to power, and about leaving no one behind. Building empowering, respectful communities starts with recognizing the existence of sexual violence and discrimination. Recognizing the ways in which this violence affects every life differently requires different responses, resources, and support. It means that all of us, you, me, our employers, our audience, our networks, every one of us has to disrupt and end the enabling environment which allows sexual harassment and discrimination to continue. And we've reached a tipping point. The tide on gender discrimination is clearly turning. When I see women and girls mobilizing around the world in the Latin America Ni Una Menos moment, marches to protest the violence against women, the women I recently sat with in northeastern Nigeria on a trip with the International Medical Corps who have fled Boko Haram, the demonstrations in Poland and Ireland against abortion bans, the women who spoke out in the International Criminal Court to hold to account those who use rape as a method of war. The revolution really is here. In the past few months, we have seen how the media can be a powerful tool to denounce an injustice. But in the drive for sensational headlines, when stories are bite-sized for easy consumption, this can also drive conclusions that obliterate reality and due process, and the real story is lost. I was gossip column fodder in my early 20s when I first became a so-called celebrity. I was an optimistic, driven, hardworking, and ambitious young woman determined to pursue a career in acting based on my merit and talent. And I found myself relentlessly harassed by 15 camera-armed men on a daily basis, determined to scare me to the point of rage or tears in the name of getting a newsworthy shot. My life and career was in the hands of people intent on destruction, people who judged and vilified me in ways they would never, ever have done if I was a man. I fought back. I got privacy law changed. But men are not subjected, thank you. Men are not subjected to the same criticism and merciless scrutiny as women are. And as we age, we become increasingly left in the sidelines of major productions, and our stories remain untold. For too long, women have not been heard, and I am glad, as we all are, that things are changing now. The media has a powerful voice to expose wrongdoings and to hold the powerful to account. Still, nobody should be judged without a fair trial. In an era where it sometimes feels like democracy is hanging on by a very thin thread, let's try to uphold one of the fundamental aspects of it, of justice and due process. So what is our industry's role in this revolution? I believe it is pivotal. A study by our co-host for this event, UN Women, and the Gina Davis Institute on Gender and Media a few years back gives us some hard data on stereotypes in film. The study found, for example, that when you go to the cinemas, only about a third of all speaking characters are women. For leading or co-leading roles, that number drops to less than a quarter. The only area where women score higher than men is when it comes to nudity or sexually revealing clothing. For this indicator, there are twice as many female as male characters. But here is another finding. With a female director, there is an increase in female roles. This is a start. Role models really matter. As Gina Davis says, when you can see it, you can be it. And for children in particular, the presence of non-stereotypical female characters has important role model functions which shape gender relations. That is why we need to examine and challenge the gender roles our industry promotes and sells to the world. I believe in women who feel strong enough to say no to injustices, who speak up and share their stories, and who bring change. I believe in our power to create stories led, starred, directed, and produced by women, and in creating an inclusive culture that gives women more visibility in positions of management and leadership of creative products. To achieve all of this, we must remain together and to work with our male counterparts to educate and inspire. Whether we are in the limelight or in the shadows, or sitting here in this conference room, our voices matter. Thank you.